All right, welcome everyone to this episode of Monetizing Your Mental Capital. I'm your host, Will Christensen, and I am super excited. Yoni, how do you say your last name? Yoni, is it Mazor?
Anyway, he said it's fine, but it's from Hebrew actually. It's Mazor. I say
Mazor.
Mazor, but Mazor
Yoni
works.
Mazor.
It's Gecko. It's okay, or potato. I guess the job done. But Mazor, fun fact, in Hebrew actually means remedy.
Ooh. Hey,
Remedy.
that is for what you guys do over at Getida. That is like a solid last name there, my friend. That's
I
almost.
actually never thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
Have you met Oz Merchant?
Oh yeah,
Okay, so I interviewed him on a podcast and I was like, how in the world how did you get that last name? And he was like,
merchant lending. Yeah.
well, he looked at me like, what do you mean, how did I get that last name? The same way you got your last name, moron. Like your parents
No,
gave
let
it
me
to
give you a
you.
twist. Let me give you a twist. Oz in Hebrew also means powerful. So powerful merchant. See
Holy
that? Oh,
crap. Now that is just unfair, right? Like his name
powerful
yeah.
merchant. Yeah.
We,
Lots in
we
the names. We believe lots. Yeah, there's lots in the name.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Yoni, tell me, so from this concept of monetizing your mental capital, you're speaking to e-commerce sellers who are interested in this topic. Why should they listen to you? What do you have to offer on this topic that's interesting?
I guess I'm gonna have to dive a little bit into my background here. So, in a nutshell, today I'm the co-founder and the chief growth officer of Getida, right? So Getida, essentially, we're a technology company, we're a data company, and our mission is to really help Amazon FBA sellers maximize the FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. And today we're the largest organization in the world focused exclusively on this mission. We have a team of 240 employees in 12 countries. We audit tens of billions of dollars of FBA transactions every day. We're an authorized solution provider of Amazon. We're in the Amazon App Store. And, we started in 2015. And I could say that, from 2015, where it was kind of an idea or a direction of some sorts that involved a lot of tech and solutions to becoming this, I would say that was probably, beyond my wildest dreams, where e-commerce, this whole industry propelled us to become, monetizing ideas definitely has been adventurous to say the least.
Interesting. Okay, I love that. So, if they were asleep before, they're not asleep anymore. Tell me, when's the first time you can remember monetizing mental capital? And by the way, I hear everything from like sold. I had a guy who said he answered people's questions on their homework for a quarter. I had another guy who did a lemonade stand. So when's the first time you can remember monetizing mental capital?
I'll put it to two dimensions. One, I can touch on the Getida later because it was almost too easy. I'll touch it. I'll save it for later. But on the more, I guess, eclectic side of things, I think I actually touched upon it, that the fact that I was born in Israel and I grew up in Israel, right?
Okay.
So in Israel, the native language there is Hebrew. That's my native language. My mother happens to be American, so I was an American born abroad. And when I kind of moved to the United States, I went to school, all that stuff. But there were junctions where I had to kind of support myself, do whatever I could do financially to get by. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing was to a simple, just as simple as that, just help with Hebrew. So I know Hebrew, other people don't, and whoever wanted to learn Hebrew, I offer my services. There's a platform actually called Wise Ant. I think it's WYZ Ant, A-N-T. I don't know if they're still in business. I can check later. But it's a cool platform where you can just go on there and offer for lack of better termination, mental services. So whatever you can good at
Hmm.
and support and or offer. So I offered, hey, you want to learn Hebrew, understand Hebrew? I'll be your guy. I know Hebrew perfectly. I know English almost perfectly, ESL, but I get by. English is
Hey, I
second
think you're doing
language,
pretty
but
well.
yeah. Let me know at the end. You give me a score, but so I offered myself there, and then lo and behold, I had people reaching out and showing interest and becoming clients. So I taught them Hebrew. So it was a really cool experience because I had this whole variety of spectrum of people that I came across with. There was people that are there. Some of them was about to finish high school. They wanted to pass this interview in Hebrew to go to get accepted to a program in Israel, and they can go study there and stuff like that. But they have to pass the interview. So help them, prepare for the interview and understand all the words. And boom, they passed. They fulfill their mission. There's another cool story where it took me out of nowhere. It was so cool, right? I was so surprised. So this guy, he's in a college university in Budapest, in Hungary. It's a country, right? So
Mm.
he's learning theology, Bible studies, because become a priest. He wants to become a priest or a minister, and they require them to learn the biblical scriptures in Hebrew in the original copies.
Mm.
So so basically they teach him Hebrew, really deeply. So he had a summer vacation. So in the summer vacation, they told him we have to maintain your Hebrew. So so he hired me so I can sit down, talk to him, read with him, all that stuff, just to maintain that. So what was cool was that his father came. He said his father's a pastor, a minister in local community here in New Jersey. He said, I
Hmm.
want to, after a few sessions, like, I want to meet your teacher. I want to see if he's legit, if he really knows Hebrew. So he
Uh-oh.
came because we used to meet him like
Uh-oh.
in the public library and everything. And comes this gentleman like with this aura and a big cross and chain and the whole. I'm like, whoa, this is legit, So we speak in Hebrew, and obviously I'm a native and I'm a few steps ahead of Hebrew, I would say. And he's like, yeah, this is great. He's good. You put your money in the right place, son. So that was a good confirmation for me. So yeah, package all these together. There's more and more stories where I was able to monetize my mental capacity, right? In my mind, I know two languages. Simple as that. Sometimes when we know another language, you take it for granted. I know, well, Portuguese, right? You served a mission 2 years. So that alone is, helpful, right? Coming here, there's demand. All these, for me to know there's a theology student in Budapest that needs this, there's demand. Boom. Lo and behold, there's demand so I offer my services on the platform, internet. Thank God there's internet. If there's no internet, maybe I would have do it at the Yellow Pages. Back then you can
Yeah.
do that, right? You can just put an
Yeah.
ad, whatever. So the combination of what you have in your mind and what's needed out there, but you have to put something in between, which is a medium to offer that out. So you can tell your friends, tell your communities,
Distribution
social
channel.
media. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of, I would say, something I can point out that was clear track for me to monetize, mental capacity. But on the Getida side, I'll tell you that story in a nutshell. So over a decade ago, we started selling online, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
we sold on our website, we sold on eBay. And then in 2013, we started selling on Amazon. And
Okay.
then the business grew really quickly from 0 to 20 million, then to 100 million. And what happened was we had so much FBA transactions to reconcile, we were not able to use spreadsheets anymore. They were breaking. Because we had so much data. So that really pushed us to do two things. First thing was to create a technology to audit and reconcile all the transactions at scale for all the discrepancies, all the units that get lost, damaged, destroyed, disappeared, disposed, whatever. And the second thing was to create a dedicated team to open the cases with Amazon and manage all the back and forth until there's a resolution. If Amazon finds the inventory, great. If not, they provide a reimbursement. That's also good, and we can move on. So effectively, we created the solution for ourselves, right?
Mm.
But later on, we told our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities, and then told us, "Help us, we'll pay you." And that was the moment. It was too easy because they literally told us, "Help us, we'll pay you." That's when we were able to realize, oh, we can monetize this. It wasn't so it was a solution, but the idea to
Hmm.
offering out the solution we got that idea from the end
From your
user, the
customers.
end client. Yeah, so they literally came knocking on our
Hey,
door. So
that's a fantastic way to recognize that you have something that's worth monetizing, right? Like listen to the people who are around you saying, "Hey, I kind of need that."
oh, big time, big time. So this was our path and example, but always look around you, say, "Oh, I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish." And you're like, I can, that wish they wish they have in mind. I think I can pull some of those dots together, and because I have it in my brain. So that is a pathway. It's a signal
Mm.
for you. The universe definitely sends the signals. It did to us, thankfully.
Yeah.
Just stay attentive to them and take
Hey,
action.
just a heads up, I did a quick Google search for anybody listening, and wyzant.com, Wyzant is still a thing, and very much so. Like I'm seeing math tutors on here who have like thousands of hours of math tutoring. So
Yeah, I
Hebrew,
actually I added to the math teacher. There's a math teacher that I know in our community, and I told about it. She offered, and she made money there.
I
So
love it.
but I also yeah. So Hebrew was one angle that I listed myself. I also listed myself for teaching guitar or piano because I know how to play it. I never taught it, but I want to take a little bit of money if I could do a little bit of work there, or if I really see that I'm doing well, I can. You can start from the basics. You can be competitive, low rate, and then if you really garner experience and good satisfaction and feedback, you can increase your rate over there in the platform. A little quick
That
tip.
okay, so let's talk distribution channel for a second here. Distribution channel, I think, from an Amazon or a Walmart, or like we kind of understand that distribution channel is actually a very well understood thing, I think, in the realm of physical products, because without the distribution channel, like what the heck, like, I mean, you have your direct to website, but even the direct website, that's a channel, right? They're very distinct and clear and clean cut. Like it's very obvious. Oh, that's a marketplace. For services and for technology, for SaaS, I have found that that's a blurry mess of insanity. Like, how do you discover? How do you decide? Like, okay, well,
Yeah, so surprisingly enough, for the on-trade eye, a trained eye, or the typical trader, meaning because e-commerce sellers by definition, they're in retail, they're buying and selling one from one place to another. They're in the trade business. They're traders, right?
mm,
Not traders. They're not trading a country,
yes, yes.
and selling out secrets. They're taking physical
No,
goods and
I
trading them.
understood. Your English score is definitely above.
Okay.
You don't need to repeat. I got you. I got you.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So yeah. So the environment that we're in with amongst all the e-commerce sellers and Amazon sellers is really trading, right? So they don't immediately click into the notion of, you know, um, intellectual property, monetization, data, technology, services, stuff like that. It doesn't immediately click. Nevertheless, there's another universe out there that is massive, massive into that, and it's really known to all. It's called venture capital, Silicon Valley, right? These are hubs where you take ideas, so right, and you wanted to monetize them. Present a business model. So venture capital, meaning venture, kind of means that it's going to go to the adventure because they know it's high risk. That's why venture capital firms,
Okay,
they
okay.
allocate funds, money into ventures or adventures that will be high risk, and they know that 9 times out of 10 it will fail completely, but the 1 out of 10 will be the next Google, the next Facebook, whatever it is. So on the money side, it balances out. So that one win gives you a home run, and you get all of the money back and beyond. And the world has more and more of those venture capitalists, or venture capital firms. So there's definitely communities, hubs, global
So
environment for
wait,
that.
did you do any venture capital stuff? Like at the beginning, did you take on venture capital funds
Thankfully,
at
I
the
didn't
beginning?
have to. I was able to bootstrap because the clients literally came knocking at the door. With the venture capital route, it's a bit more like I have an idea. I don't know if anybody will come knocking at my door, but let's plug money into this to see if somebody, when we go to market, will knock on our door. So thankfully, I didn't have that. And I had two things. I had built-in demand that surprised me, but also had the capital because we had a pretty robust Amazon business. So we're able to self-fund. So we didn't need the venture capital. We took our own risk with our own money
Okay.
instead of pitching it to somebody that maybe it's a little bit
Yeah.
foreign to them, not foreign to us. So plus, like I said, in our mindset, we're traders. We didn't
Mhm.
have today. I'm more familiar with it because we grew to such a degree that every week venture capital firms and private equity firms were emailing us, knocking on our door. Because once you're into the data, software, tech side of things, right, or solving what they have all these radars. Like same thing. It's funny. It's like the same thing when you sell on Amazon. You have all these tools to find the best sellers out there,
Mhm.
right? On every ASIN
Yeah.
and every
Yeah.
category. Same thing in data and tech. The moment there's companies out there that they kind of rise up, there's all these tools or whatever they use, venture capital firms or private equity firms or financial firms to find a good companies to do capital allocation to invest into them with the hopes of a return. And I came to discover that turning into the solution side.
So tell me about the channels or the distribution methods. So when you were kind of digging in and trying to figure out, okay, Getida, people are knocking on my door. Obviously, with Wyzant, you found a marketplace. So I think
Yeah, I
that's
just
one of
Googled
the
it. I
things
Googled it. Yeah, it's simple as that.
where so like if I'm a seller and I'm wanting to get into that, like where can I find and then insert the wish, right? Like where is that at? Go Google it, get on AI, find out what other people are calling stuff. That one of the tricks I've found with finding marketplaces like that is knowing what freaking term to put into Google. Like my wife is like, "You're a good Googler." And I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." She's like, "No, like you put in what you think say people would want, and then you look through the page and you'll go back up and edit your search like 3 times before you start looking on any pages. Why do you do that?"
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, I want to figure out what I don't think what I'm calling it is what most people call it, and I want to find what most people call it because that's what the people who are optimizing for search terms are going to go find that." And so, like, I'll look at the suggested search terms and a bunch of other stuff when I'm on the page. And she's like, "You just seem to find crap that I can never find."
And that's a perfect point. If you're an Amazon seller and your forte is the SEO things, oh, this is gonna be easy for you. Because you're gonna figure it out. If you're more into the buying and selling, less into that, yeah, start Google. If the results you get a little wonky, try to edit your search. Or really, today you can ask ChatGPT. Maybe you can ask Perplexity, which is the Jeff Bezos
Yep.
AI tool, which is
Yep.
very, I would say, tech savvy. And also
Yeah.
gives you annotation where they got the resources from. So once you
Yeah.
click it, you can actually see the source of where it's from. So
Right.
Perplexity is a good direction. Say, what do usually people do when they have this kind of idea? Where do they go? Boom,
Where do
it's
they
all
go? Where
there.
do they put this up? So if you're looking for a channel, identifying it
Community channel
either,
environment.
I love it. Okay, okay, okay. Let's talk about your channels with Getida, and you had people knocking on the door. I mean, I'm sure there were times and moments when you were like, "Man, I got to make this bigger. I got to grow faster." I mean, you're constantly looking at challenges. What channels did you explore?
Got it. So that's a good question. So what happened was effectively is that, we started 2015. That was early seeds. For the first 3, 4 years, the business was kind of growing side by side, with the Amazon business, but organically. We didn't really put too much into it. It was really word of mouth.
Mm,
So 3, 4 years into the mix, even with word of mouth, it was getting such momentum because I guess because it's performance-based solution, meaning it's free to join Getida, it's free to stay with Getida. There's no subscription, right? We only charge a fee if we're successful in getting your reimbursement. That
right.
is a very attractive, appealing, comfortable solution to offer out there,
Yeah.
performance-based. So once again, the idea was, came knocking on the door. And then once we implemented the idea, the way it was structured and the way it was delivered was, I guess, successful, appealing, and it created its own momentum. So 3, 4 years into the mix, what we did was we made a strategic decision to cash out of retail, 2019, and take all the money we made into retail and put all of our money, all of our mind, attention, creativity, energy, focus into one place. That place was Getira, and to help Amazon FBA sellers all over the world with this challenge of getting the maximum reimbursement that they're eligible to receive with data reconciliation. And the moment we put our efforts and mindset into one place, that's when we really kind of think
Mm.
propel. That's when we really pave the way to become the largest organization that would focus exclusively on this dimension. So that was
So when you I mean, at the very beginning, you had people knocking on the door, and they were just other sellers that you'd met like at a round table, or what? Where were you talking about it that people were like, "Hey, wait a minute, I want that."
yeah. So early on, we were very into the I don't know if to say community per se, but very into the learning curve of what's going on with being a seller. So obviously, I remember early on going to the Amazon seller forum. I don't know if I mean, we all take it for granted, but it's there. So early on, I was like,
Man, yeah, I haven't talked about the Amazon Seller Forum in a long time.
yeah. So whenever I
It
got stuck
used to
into
be
something,
like the place that you would go to post stuff. You're
yeah, how
right.
do I do this? How do I do that? Boom, it was there. So, okay, digitally, you can come across those. And then all these Facebook groups start to pop up, or in general, Facebook groups of any kind in the world started to pop up at some point in the past decade.
Yeah.
So that made it a bit, pretty easy. And then all these little meetups in New York City area, which I'm in New Jersey, New York City area, popped up. So every once in a while, I used to do those, and also the Prosper Show. Prosper Show 2017. We're hard into the retail side of things, and we know there was a show. We knew that we constantly have to learn. This is a constantly changing environment. Actually, sorry, before the Prosper Show, 2016, I went to the RC show, the Internet Retail Convention
Yep.
Exhibition
I
in
remember
Chicago.
IRC. I exhibited at both of those shows
Yeah,
at both Prosper and IRCE.
there we go. So I guess what I can say is that we all always has had this tremendous thirst to understand more, with unquenchable thirst since the moment we stepped into e-commerce. Like it's like a constant thread you're pulling on. It just gives you more information that you can reiterate and tweak, and more information. It was amazing. Still is amazing. Still that I'm still in that adventure and journey. So we had that thirst, and it led us to all these places that we never expected to be. Hopefully, for listening to this, if you have the thirst, bless you. You're on the path to be, to go to good places. If you don't have that thirst, you should probably develop it to some degree. You don't have to be a marathon runner that has to guzzle up, a
All the
few,
information. Yeah.
yeah, you just, but keep yourself open to it. So once you see, you go to Facebook, see like Facebook groups for Amazon sellers and see what kind there are. There's for arbitrage, there's for advertising, there's for cross, all this. So the ones you feel like, relates to you, join them. See what they're all talking about. If you have anything to contribute, somebody has a question, how do you do? Look, I know how to do that. Post it, reply, comment. It's in your fingertips. It's in your phone, right? It's so available to you. We talked about distribution. So Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, go to the Amazon forum again, check out what's there, see what they're talking about. So it's kind of all around you. You just have to be aware of it. And so hopefully with this episode, you will be, and take a little bit of action. And if it goes well, take more action.
I love it. I want to dig in a little bit to what you said about finding. So I love that you brought up Amazon seller forums, because in my journey at the beginning, I founded data automation, and data automation was all about just automating data from point A to point B. 2017, I had done a little bit of looking in different pieces. I emailed the guy over at Zapier. I think this is a couple years before that, like 2012-ish kind of thing, 2013. Wade Foster is the owner of Zapier. I applied to be the seventh member of Zapier. That's how interested I was in like being on their team. And he told me, I still have the email. I think it's awesome to go back and read it. He said, you just don't have enough development experience. All I had was Excel and Google, and like I knew Visual Basic and some basics that way, but nothing, no coding really experience at that point in time. And so automation, just that thirst for like picking up and looking at all of these different pieces and everything that was there. I went out and I kind of focused on Zapier and what was there. And we built our product around creating Zapier integrations for people. That was what data automation did at the very beginning. And then we started to see a pattern, and our distribution channel actually was Seller Labs. So Seller Labs was across the hall. We met Chad Rubin from Skubana, and it was actually hilarious because somebody at Zapier introduced me to Chad Rubin. And then I was in a room with Jeff Cohen, and I was like, yeah, I just met this guy, Chad Rubin. And he was like, wait, who introduced you to Chad Rubin? And I was like, these people over at Zapier introduced me. And he was like, this is way too small a world because I know Chad Rubin intimately. Like he was so surprised that like it just kind of went full circle. And Chad and I dug in together, and I started helping his clients with automation. So they became a referral partner where they sent us basically everybody who needed that. And that was my distribution
And that was
channel.
critical. Skubana, just to give some color there, it was a multi-channel ERP enterprise resource, program system that really takes a lot of the load to run your e-commerce business or businesses. And it's critical. If you don't have the right plugins, integrations, and flow of data smoothly with you, crash. So that was critical for him. So you probably did magic for him.
Well, and he would send me 3, 4, 5 sellers a week sometimes, and they just needed integrations with stuff. And he knew that if I got somebody on the phone, I wasn't letting them go. And so he knew that I would support his sales process. I'd text him and be like, dude, what the heck's going on with this guy? And he'd be like, oh, he hasn't texted you either? Let's get him. And we would go, double
nice.
team.
2 dogs with the bone. Yeah, it's great.
Get him back on the phone to get stuff rolling. And that was my distribution channel. So I'm fascinated. It sounds like your distribution channel actually happened before Getida, because you just found like-minded people who had the same problems as you, all these Facebook groups, the seller forums. I am still reeling. Like, I think one of the places that people go now, and I think probably part of the reason we're not hearing a lot about those seller forums, is because I think people are going to, they're going to Reddit. I think we got a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. That's right.
Where else would you say? Like, because seller forums, I remember back in 2017, 2018, when we had a problem with something inside Amazon, like that was like probably the 3rd or 4th answer you'd get. Did you search the forums on Amazon?
Yeah. So today, what the reality is, it's saturation of distribution. There's Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. There's endless, and there's actually communities, environments, and those community environments have their own platforms, or some of them go, if you want to check this out, it's called Mighty. It's just a platform where you can pay a few bucks a month and you can create your own community in a closed environment. Basically, so creating your own Facebook group.
How do you spell it?
Of Facebook. It's called Mighty. Like
Mighty, like as in Mighty Mouse?
Yeah, like Mighty Ducks. Yeah, like Mighty Ducks.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So Mighty is you pay a few dollars, and if you have a group of people, for any type of reason, you want to create a digital environment that is closed just for you guys, you use Mighty. You pay a few dollars, and then everybody can log in. You have this feed and flow, and you can archive meetings and stuff like that. It's called Mighty, and you can brand it. The Will Christensen.
There's another one that just came out community-wise. Alex Hermosi School, SKOOL.
Yeah. So like I said, saturation of environments. So you have all these environments that are, on the big platforms like Telegram, Facebook, WhatsApp, or you create your own. It's almost like you can sell on, when you're a seller, Amazon, e-commerce seller, you can sell on Amazon, which is a platform, or you can sell at your own website on Shopify. So Mighty is like your ability to create your Shopify community environment feed.
Interesting. So like you could almost start your own channel by starting a community.
Exactly what it is. You create your own digital community with Mighty, and then it's like opening your own branded store with Shopify. It's shelf ready. Boom. That's what Mighty is.
Interesting.
So I think school from Hormoz is the same idea.
Man, I love like what we're talking about here because like this idea of like, okay, if you're going to sell mental capital, you got to find a place where you can wheel and deal in mental capital. And you got to think like ideas, like WhatsApp groups. You're probably in the WhatsApp. Are you in the WhatsApp group that Chad created 2 years ago for like
Hmm.
the Underground Prosper Show text
Yeah.
group? I
Yeah.
mean, he's got like 200 or 300 people in there, and I'm always laughing because I'm like, dude, this is so funny because a year over year he just renames it. Like this year it was the 2024, and next year it'll be the 2025. And every once in a while I'll see somebody else post in there about X, Y, or Z, but like that's mental capital, right? Like he owns that group and is the admin. He can remove anybody, and people are pretty respectful, right? Like every once in a while I'll see a random post in there, but you know that it doesn't happen twice because if it did, he'd remove them. So like it's just
Hmm.
really interesting to see how people interact in those pieces. So okay, so Mighty, where are other places that you think people should be hunting around to find these small communities? Facebook, Reddit.
Yeah, so these are the, on the major platforms. I would say this. There's also communities that are digital but also physical in nature. So one
Mhm.
example of that is, I don't know if you ever heard of the Titan Network.
Yes, yeah, Athena. That
Athena and Dan.
okay? You want to talk about some crazy stuff? I remember Athena at she was at a Skubana. They did their first conference, like it was an in-person thing, kind of like it wasn't at their offices, but it was close to their
I think it was in New
offices.
York City. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was in New
yeah.
York.
Did you
Yeah, yeah, I
go?
remember that. It was in October. I didn't go. My team remember when it was in October. It was like a workshop a
Yeah,
few
yeah. It was
days
like a
ago.
workshop.
Yeah.
There were like 60 or 70 people in the room is all. Like it
Hmm.
was not a very big thing. And I went and I remember meeting Athena there and she was like, yeah, I do events and like just different stuff like that. But it was like it was just her all on her own doing nothing else. And the funny thing is like 2, 3 years later, I actually kind of stepped out of the e-commerce space for like 9 months and did some other stuff. And then I came back in and I missed, like, I mean, COVID happened. So nobody saw anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And then I come to Prosper Show last year and I walked up and I was like, oh, hey, Athena, holy crap. What did you build? Like, it's just so cool to see people like build these empires,
Yeah,
overnight.
if you
Well, it felt
wanna,
like overnight
yeah.
because I hadn't seen it, but it's really cool.
Yeah, if you want to know the whole story, if I can give myself a little bit of a plug, here, is that we do have our own podcast show. Happy to have you,
Okay.
by the way. It's open
Okay.
invitation. It's called Prime Talk, and over there we try to expose the journeys of all these industry leaders into e-commerce. So we had Athena on the show, so you can see the whole journey of, into e-commerce and how she built up the Titan Network, and also Dan Ashburn, which is our partner, and they both founded the Titan Network. So both of them got hosted, at the few, and we have the show for 5 years. So I think maybe they're like a year apart within the episodes, but you should be able to find them. So in a nutshell, I'll tell you that. So one thing leads to another. So Athena, with her whole background, she's very communal, right? She was,
Yep.
back
Yep.
in the day, she was just doing events and building communities for
Yep.
mommies and this and that. At
Yep.
some point, she created this China Magic strip, which is still alive and going. China Magic, where it's they do a trip to China, especially around the Canton Fair, and so
Oh, I heard about this. Yeah.
any entrepreneurs that want to source products in China, they're obviously in April and October, you have the Canton Fair, massive, massive fair or conference that you can see factories of any type, shape, or form for 3 weeks, and every week has its different categories and phases. So she took the initiative to take all these e-commerce and Amazon sellers there so they can really explore what China has to offer. It's called China Magic. And it was really good, and they started really gelling and bonding as a community. So from that, Titan Network is born because he said, you know what? Why once a year, twice a year can we do this? Well, maybe we can do this constantly and ongoing. So they gave the idea, monetization of ideas, right?
Yeah.
To
Yeah. Yeah.
create an ongoing community. They built a
Somebody's
Titan
knocking on
network.
the door. Hey, wait a minute. I really like this. I'll pay you to do it more.
When it's funny you say door, because what happened was they kind of discussed it all together, and then what happened was, if I remember correctly, you can check on the episode, is they left a note at the door of all the China Magic participant that they decided to create a community, something like that. So that was kind of a crazy moment out there, and it took its own life and shape and form. And I think today they're probably one of the largest
Yep.
Amazon seller communities, where it's really like an academy.
Yep.
They have over 1,000 members, and they have all these class groups where you have like first grade, second grade, third grade, really institutionalized in
I'm
learning
super
and
excited about
grouping.
Athena's. She's on our schedule. Her episode has not yet happened, but she's going to be on this podcast. So I'm really excited about. That's so cool to just hear like where they went. And I mean, like you said, monetizing mental capital, like it was about event and group building. That's so cool.
Yeah. So I actually learned about Mighty because of Titan Network. They were on Mighty. So then they this Mighty platform, so they're able.
Yeah, yeah,
And now I think also in the past few months, they actually migrated to their own. They made it so big and so wide, they created their own platform now outside of Mighty, so they have to kind of build it, customize it from the ground up. So one thing leads to another. They use this available shelf-ready platform. They succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, and now they have to create their own platform and take it forward and monetize on that as well.
that's awesome. Okay, if you could make a phone call, and we're imagining that you can call Yoni right when he very first creates that listing on Wyzant. So he's just made that listing. You have the opportunity now to call him on a cell phone and give him a leg up, give him an idea, give him a format. What would you tell him to do differently over the next several years than what you've done already? And we're not discounting your current journey at all. That's part of us. But if you ran into Yoni then, what might have helped him monetize his mental capital faster, better, if he'd known it then?
So I'll be honest, I want to change the thing because I think it was, I believe, I'm a spiritual person, I believe in God and everything. So it was destined to happen. So I wouldn't change that thing. But if I was able to make that call, I would just calm him down. Said, trust the process. You have to, all tremendous challenges. I wasn't, nothing as rosy as it seems. We sit here, it seems like, oh, I had a rosy. No, day in, day out, there's a grind. There's account suspensions, ASIN suspensions, loans, interest, hiring, firing, issues, drama, at the end out, lots and lots, especially as you
Yeah.
scale. And there's more chips on the table. When you're doing $1 million a year or $100
Yeah.
million a year, $100 million a year, you have inventory that you got to manage. It's worth tens of millions of dollars. That's your balance sheet.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. Your success is also your stress. So I would say just take it easy, relax. It's all very high pressure, high adrenaline. But it's good things will come out of it. And I think today I applied. I wish I could have called myself earlier, but today, because all this experience and all this tenacity and all this resilience
Yeah.
took place, I'm today much more
Much calmer.
calmer and equalized. So
what advice would you give him to become calmer? Okay, yeah, I get it, Yoni. I got to be calmer, but how? What should I do?
I would just say all you're doing is gonna work. Keep doing it. Do what you got to do, but it's gonna work. It's gonna work out. You'll come out on top. That confidence, that would be very nice to have that confidence, because when you're alive in all these junctions, you don't know. You're making all these bets, right? So I won't say change any bets, but just the bet you just relax, take it easy.
I think that's actually some advice that we can all take to heart right now. Like, you don't know how it's going to work out, but you've got to
There
trust
will be failures. There will be failures, but when they come, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Take it with a bit more positivity. We'll knock you
Learn
down
from it. Stand
Mhm.
up. Keep walking.
Yeah.
I think for me, like right now, I've shifted some stuff around. I'm starting this new thing where I pair these rock star entrepreneurs with these young entrepreneurs, and I do this matchmaking thing, and I'm super passionate about it. And I'm all sorts of nervous too, because that means that the steady pay flow stuff doesn't happen as much. And so I think I just need to sit down and recognize God's prepared me for my journey, right? And if you don't believe in God, whatever you believe in, you've been prepared for this moment. And as you get up and keep working, all of that negativity, all of that worry, all of that energy you're putting into that, it just doesn't go anywhere. So take a deep breath, calm down, and recognize that life is going to be abundant.
Yeah. And I do want to say or stress out that obviously you have to try your hardest.
Yeah.
Really, if you know that you should put your heart and soul into it, you try your hardest, the outcome will be the outcome. But you have to be true and honest with yourself. You try the hardest, mean well, do well. If you know that at some point didn't mean well, or tried to, finagle kind of things, that's when it's, if it don't work out, don't be surprised. Or if you get busted, so it's not the way to go. The premise has to be authentic, honest, legal, ethical, all that stuff. That needs to be a strong, because sometimes you'll see all these shortcuts in this industry and game where it can be black hat stuff or semi-border, all these things, or attacking other businesses and stuff like that. You see that, right? So avoid those. if you can. If you're the seller or watching or this or listening to this, avoid those kind of shortcuts where others might get harmed. So that's what I say. That's what I mean when I say mean well. Know that you really meant well and not to harm anybody. Because once you have that premise and you did hurt somebody, you should be always able to come out a lot and say and explain your action and show it wasn't deliberate. And people will forgive you. People will work with you. Amazon will work with you. Other suppliers. And you know what? That negative can become a positive. So you know what? I appreciate the fact that you opened up and showed me all that stuff. So mean well, do well. It will take you to good places, even if you have friction points in some junctions.
Love
So
that.
believe in
Mean
that.
well, do well. I love that.
Mhm.
Yoni, as we wrap up this episode, I have two things. One, we're going to pretend that you just stepped into an elevator with a massive Amazon seller. He doesn't know who you are, and you're going to get an opportunity to get 60 seconds to introduce Getida to him. Okay. So you get 60 seconds to just, say, oh, this is what we do, all of that. Right after we do that, you're going to share any tips, tricks, hacks, or books that you've come across in the last year that you feel like have really helped you upscale your mental capital. Okay.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I'm going to time you, and I'll give you like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so you can see it's coming down. But ready, set, go. Stepped into that elevator.
All right. Hey, how are you? My name is Yoni Mazor. I'm the co-founder of Getida. In a nutshell, we help Amazon FBA sellers get the maximum reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. Whatever your business volume is at, I can tell you one thing: the discrepancy rate on an annual basis can range between 1 to 3% from your revenue. So, for example, if you're doing 100 million, that could be $1 to $3 million a year that you're gonna have to address. We can do that for you, and if there's anything to recover, and only for successful recovering it, only then we get rewarded. Just like that, it's free to join, free to stay, and this can be potentially valuable because if you reinvest the money, you can keep growing your business.
You got like 24 more seconds. Nice work, dude. Nice
Yeah, I
work.
like to give change. I'm
Hey, I like to give some change. Okay, so
yeah, frugal guy. Yeah.
I like that. All right, so tell me now, what would you do in terms of tips, tricks, hacks, or books? What tips, tricks, hacks, or books would you recommend that have helped you monetize your mental capital over the past year or so?
I'm gonna do some carpet bombing on a few things. So if it's in the calendar, it gets done. So structure calendar, put it there. And
That's
the
a
more you
great
put
hack.
structure, yeah. I tell my wife, you want me somewhere, put in my calendar, you'll see what's gonna get done. Structure. So it seems like so obvious, but
Oh,
so
it's
effective
hard. Yeah,
when it gets done.
for a long time, I felt like my calendar was a freaking jail or something, like a cage. And now I'm like, no, it's the most powerful tool I own.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm shocked that I'm in this stage of life because when I grew up, it was so like dynamic. I was just, you're not gonna bound me anywhere. Today, if you
Yeah.
don't bound me, it's not gonna get done. It's weird. But I love it because I'm able to take all that dynamic ability and mental capacity in those locked in time slots to do so many wonderful things in this environment that I'm so passionate about: e-commerce, business, entrepreneurship, all that stuff. So manage your time, have structure, and use a calendar. If it's in the calendar, it gets done. In terms of books, the book that I read the past year that really influenced me positively was by Tony Hsieh, the Zappos story, the Zappos. I think it's called Delivering Happiness.
Actually,
Really,
I've heard of that one again. That's the second time I think that we've had that one come up on the show.
yeah. So in a nutshell, Tony Hsieh, brilliant guy. He created a company and had an early exit. It was really in the kind of digital, online, I guess, SEO and stuff like that, or advertising. He would make some widgets, and it was bought for a lot of money. So he made a lot of money very young. He retired for a little bit, but then he came back with vengeance, so to speak, when he created Zappos, which we all know it was a platform. It still is a platform or a website where you can buy shoes and handbags, stuff like that. And it was revolutionary because he said, I'm going to specialize in this category, shoes, because nobody ever did it before. But above all, I'm not selling shoes, I'm selling happiness. I'm going to create such a delightful experience for my customers. We're going to buy, it's going to have a wide selection, competitive. They're going to buy, they're going to get it really, really quickly.
Did
If they
you
ever
hit?
call us,
Okay, so did he talk about how he went out and took pictures of people's shoes that he didn't even own at the beginning of the like when he needed to get it up on there, he had an inventory problem, and so he would go to a store and say, "I'll buy these at full retail."
yeah, he
from you.
sold at a loss. He wanted to prove the concept where you can put it online, people will buy it, get it, and enjoy it. So he would have sold for $100 and he didn't have stock. You go to 100 to the Foot Locker, get it for 150.
Yep.
Deliver on that promise. So you're gonna get what you order every time, even if we mess it up on the back. And all these challenges that he had, and you can always email them, call them, and you're gonna get an amazing experience. Like the people on the other side were always very, very creative and nice, and not like technical, transactional. One
Yeah.
time somebody just reached out to Zappos just to say, hey, I'm in this area. Where's the best pizza around my area? So the Zappos customer support person came in to Google around there. She said, once we got to that, I'm delivering happiness. So eventually Amazon bought him. And I think Amazon took a lot of that ethos into the customer centric, mentality that they have.
Interesting.
That's why Amazon considers themselves the most customer centric company in the world. So he, from his journey of really focusing on happiness. So even though he's on a platform selling shoes, he never saw himself as a
It's
retailer
about
selling
delivering
shoes.
happiness.
He is delivering happiness to humans with his structure. So for me, it's like, how am I delivering happiness to humans with my structure? I figure
Yeah.
it out. If I help you with maximum reimbursement, you're investing into the business, your business is growing, you're making
Yeah.
money, you're making
Yeah.
profits, you're gonna take that profit and invest in your family, your education, your community. And
And
that is very
happiness.
happy
Yeah.
thing to do. That's so it helped me to connect it to the end goal of helping other humans.
I love it. Yoni, any other tips, tricks, hacks, or books that you'd recommend?
I'll just listen to this podcast to the next episode. I'll recommend that.
Love it. Yoni, thank you so much for joining us on Monetizing Your Mental Capital. It's been a pleasure.
Samir, thank you so much.